Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Sex Trader game versus Square game. And it's like, Rom at it again. Well, check this out, right? And the young man said I could refer to the conversation. I had a client and this gold digger tried to play him, right? And the young man, he stood up, he stomped that shit down quick. He put his foot on her neck for trying that bullshit. But I was breaking down the gold digger game for him, right? I was really breaking it down, and it was kind of scaring myself because I was like, damn, how I know this shit? But then I forgot, and I've even said it on here how I was raised. I was raised up by women in the game. Right? I was raised up by women in the game. Now, understand what I'm saying. Even though I've been around some professional hoes, I've been around a different type of hoe too, right? And that's what I would call the sex trader, right? Now, another term I've talked about that, might have called them acculturated prostitutes. Warren Lance, shout out Warren Lance, calls them acceptable hoes, right? These are the women who they actually get money out of men, right? They get their bills paid, might get money, trips, and all of that, but you can't really call them professionals, right? But then, that's just one part of the spectrum, right? You got the game is deeper than what people think, because I'm calling this sex trader game versus Square game, right? Understand the sex trader very simply is a man, or is a primarily women, but some men get into it too. Who they trade in their sex appeal. Not just sex, but it's really just sex appeal for tangible goods, right? Now, I'm gonna focus this on the men because we all know about, women going for money and all of that stuff. But the man with that level of game, he can go anywhere from just that guy who needs someplace to sleep at night, the hobosexual, to a full-fledged gigolo and everything in between. That's the sex trader game, right? And it's not as simple as just trading sex, but there's another aspect to it. It's more of a mental aspect to it as well. And I'm not going to get into that publicly. Right, I'm gonna keep that because sometimes I throw some stuff out. All of a sudden, I see it all over the place, and then I see some video, somebody talking about it, but don't acknowledge Rom. So, and that's why the game is to be sold and not told. But I'll just say there is a definite mental aspect to it. But the main part of the game and the main takeaway is what they're using, right? Now, I've done some videos lately talking about, you can be an average looking guy and win. Understand with the sex trader game, it's not about how good the person look. Now, they tend to look above average at the very least. Now, the ones who might actually look like a 8 and above, those are the ones who usually go pro like a gigolo or something, right? And they exist. But the average person that engages in the sex trader game is usually decent looking, with a good body, and gives off that vibe like he can fuck, right? He can fuck. And usually he knows the psychological buttons to push on a woman to get her to come off that money, right? Or whatever he wants. And like I said, it could be something simple like she just paying for lunch or something, or she paying for stuff. Whatever the case, for somebody to count as a sex trader and using that type of game, that means they ain't paying for much. They ain't taking women on no dates. Or if they go on a date, rest assured she get the check. Rest assured he need money for something, she'll come up with it. He's the one driving her car and everything. And like I said, tend to have a good body. Because that's part of the thing they paying for. And like I said, if they happen to have a handsome face, very handsome face too, those are the ones usually can get like $300 an hour or so as a gigolo, and maybe more. Sometimes as a kept man or something, but they paying that shit, right? Now I said versus the Square game. Now, don't no disrespect to anybody purporting to teach game on YouTube or wherever, but a lot of that, if you ain't getting money from it, it's a square game. It's a square game if you're not getting money from that joint, because all you doing is focusing on the surface things and getting pussy. Like it's like you getting pussy but nothing else from it, right? And I know some guys, they like, well, Rom, that's all we want, and that's cool. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but because of that, you might be looking at the wrong things. Like a lot of people in the game, for what they want sex, but don't look at the role that sex actually plays in how a woman chooses a man and how much she willing to pay for that sex. Right? So they coming at the square game. You coming at like, oh, well, okay, like the cats who talk looks, money, and status and stuff, especially money and status. That's square game right there. That's surface level. Right? And quite frankly, a lot of dudes coming with that, really on a level, you're a trick. If you presenting your money to that woman or that material thing, you basically, I don't care, even if she ain't taking money from you directly, if that's the lure, on some level, you a trick to. Even if you nominally select. Because if the woman ain't giving it to you for free, you're a trick. This is basically it. Right? So that's kind of like the square, that's the square side. And also even just on anything surface that don't have to do directly with actual sex. That's why I say sometimes the dudes who might look good have trouble with it because they looking at it from that surface thing. Or they thinking it and already know they ain't deep, because the sex thing is deeper. Because the sex game is going to, when it's a woman's sex, it ain't just involved in like how good your ass look or whatever. It involves what you're willing to do in the bedroom and what fantasies you're willing to fulfill. Because many of these women out here, they have some fantasies or something like that. Now, there's an aspect of it that does include the looks piece, right? Like if you get like an average looking woman or even an ugly woman, she wants to be validated by being with a very handsome man. And these are cats, if they're not already gigolos, professional gigolos, they'll become gigolos. Because what the woman is doing is buying and paying for the guy. And it validates her. It makes her feel good. Like, yeah, I got this handsome man. And in many cases, not all, of course, there's always exceptions. But many cases, you start digging, you find out dude ain't spending a lot of money on her, if at all. Probably none, really. He's basically being paid to be her boyfriend. Her escort or something like that. And the smart ones, they'll graduate to being a gigolo. Now, I know some cats who kind of ran with that or that type of thing. And they were getting, we talking big money, cars, whatever, co-sign on shit, whatever. That's when you get those women and stuff. Oh, man, I got so many stories behind that shit, man. You be wondering why that dude pushing that woman's car or something. Because he's trading that sex. He's trading that D for whatever. And it's a different level of game. It's a different level of game. It's funny because I started calling this shit deeper than the red pill. Because it's one thing to know a woman's sexual nature is one thing, and it's quite another thing to get paid off of it. Because even just saying that a man getting paid by a woman or have her paid his shit, he don't have to come out of his pocket. A lot of dudes don't know how to do. They don't have a concept of that. They don't have a concept of it. Some dudes don't have a concept that women will approach a man. They don't have a concept of it. They would, trust me, they will. They will. And it's ironic. It's not always the guys you think they'll approach. Because the dude, to be approached, that dude gotta have a comedy. His looks do have to be above average. Slightly above, at least slightly above average. They don't if he's just average, you're gonna have something. You're gonna have to have some kind of bait. But also the type of personality that encourages a woman to approach. Right? Something about him he gotta have some opening on him. Like I always tell the story, like when it's very fine, like a legitimate dime approached me because of the Gianyami symbol I was wearing around my neck. She wanted to know what that was, and it gave her an opening. Right? So, But they will, they'll approach. They'll pay for stuff what they want. They'll pay for that sex. They pay for that D if they think you're going to give it right. And see, that's the sex trade. See, like I said, I'm giving you like the bait part, but I ain't giving you the seduction part. Because it's like, he just sit there. He still got to do something. It's something specific. And I'll put it like this. People will say, well, how do you know all this? Well, Rom's background was a little bit more interesting. Y'all getting like the kind of chilled out 54-year-old Rom. Y'all ain't talking with the kind of out there 24-year-old Rom, right? But if you want to get an idea about it, I mean, it's the same. If y'all want to do your own shit in it, that way you can say it and you ain't steal it from Rom. Shoot, just ask yourselves, why is it? What's the gigolo doing? What's the male dancer doing? What's the yardie man in Jamaica doing? They all doing the same fucking thing. Sometimes those articles about it even say what they doing. It's amazing dudes don't pick up on that. Because if people picked up on that, trust me, wouldn't have any trouble with women. Pimps do it to an extent, right? But that's the sex trader game. Now the square game, ain't that bad. You know what? If with the square game, if you got a decent job, you got some resources, you got some decent looks, you ass know how to dress, take a bath, and all of that, halfway decent in bed, you'll still get some pussy. You'll get some sex, a decent relationship. She might only dip out on you twice or something, But the sex trader game, shit, that shit's a totally different thing. In fact, one of the things that made me think about it, right, kind of triggered it, because I tried to forget some shit in life, believe it or not. You know what is funny? Sometimes people question how much game I got or how much I know. I'll say it like this. This shit, I probably forgot more shit than more people know. I'm just going to be straight up. I'll challenge somebody. We can get on a hangout. We will sit back and talk. We can have a panel of fucking pimps on there. And y'all be like, oh, shit, Rom, I ain't know you were rolling like that. Right? But it was something BGS said. Shout out to BGS. But he talked about the octane models, right? And he said something. He was explaining it to somebody on a hangout, I believe. I think it was a hangout. But he said, like, sex workers are kind of outside of that thing. And that's what it started. I heard that. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, you're right. And so if you look at that octane model, it goes into the economic class and all of that, who going to hook up with who. But then the sex workers, that's a totally different thing. They totally outside of that. Now, somebody real smart, they'll understand. There's one thing with a sex worker, like a sex worker, sex trader. There's one little personality trait they will all have. And it ain't the sex. It ain't the sex, and it ain't the looks. There's one little trait they all have, and it's right in front of you. It's right in front of you. And that's why this shit, you can't categorize the type of people they'll get with, right? In fact, it's what makes them be able to get with a variety of people, right? And that's the sex trader game. And part of that is the psychological buttons that they can push in any human being. Like, if I'm gonna tell you what, I'll tell you how deep it is. If people really wanted to solve the relationship issue, I wouldn't ask a bunch of PhDs. I wouldn't ask a bunch of dating coaches. Be real with you. And I'm saying this as somebody considered a dating coach. I'll go find that woman in the hood who don't work a job, yet she living in a luxury apartment, right? And she ain't paying no bills, Or I'll find that dude who's had like women giving him, like they started out in kindergarten just giving him some gum or something. Right? Just giving him gum or something like that, letting them cheat off their homework, paying him to take them to the prom. I'll start off with that dude. Like, he driving like a late model car and shit. He ain't pay for that shit. He ain't even putting the note on it. I go find him. You go ask them. I guarantee you this shit'll drop quickly. A lot of this bullshit'll go away quickly. Because the thing with a sex trader, their whole even mindset is just totally different. And there's a metaphysical reason behind that. And I've actually done, if you look at my Vimeo, I've actually probably covered that a few times. Even on some of my public videos. I don't remember the names of them now. But I'll just say it has to do with subconscious sexual orientations. Right? And it's a very basic thing. But anybody, if they really sit down and think about it, it's like, oh, yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. Was going to get deeper, but I don't feel like triggering people, to be honest. I was going to put a different title. That would have triggered people. And I was like, I don't feel like it. Every now I don't feel like arguing with people sometimes. Sometimes I just say, you know what? I know what I know. And piss me off, I'll take your woman. So, it's like, I wouldn't take your woman. I don't do shit like that because then I got to deal with her and whatnot. Yeah, I'll let you deal with her. Yeah. So anyway, right. I'll get back with you later. Peace and blessings.